welcome to the show with me, Dan, and my guest, Nick Twigger. Again. How you doing?
I'm not bad. How you doing, my man?
Yep, not too bad. I think, should we jump straight back in it? Because we still got a lot of questions to get through on this political compass. I think it's taking more episodes than I originally anticipated.
It sounds good to me.
Cool. It's not a bad thing. I'm enjoying it. I don't know how much everyone else is, but cool. So, question 21. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. So that question will filter out anyone who doesn't want to listen to a podcast episode debating politics. All of the words in that are... So I'll say that again. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Strongly disagree, agree, or strongly agree.
I think for me, it's a soft agree. It's just a very soft agree. And generally, I don't think this would be the case. But not all genuine free markets. Like, I don't think creative free markets require any restrictions there. So no, it's a soft disagree. Although I could see some markets that would benefit from this stuff, like that involves the stock market, for example.
Yeah, I guess it depends what you mean by genuine free market. If you think a genuine free market is the least restrictions possible, then obviously that these are the restrictions. But I guess I see it as a good free market. So yeah, I would agree, because you need to have healthy competition for a good free market. And if there's too many monopolies, or just any monopolies that have too much power, then it stamps out healthy competition, which we need to drive prices down and drive innovation and stuff.
I think part of it is also like rubber banding measures should be in place, because I think everyone wins when we take a little more from the people really excelling and we give a little more to the people just starting out. I think that's like just part of your job. You got to look after yourself, but it's also good to look after the collective of humanity as well. And the more empowered people we have, and the more fair things are, even no matter how big companies get, I just think the better results those markets will produce for humanity in general.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, you would disagree and I was agree.
But it sounds like we were kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah. I think it depends on what you think of a genuine free market. But yeah, I think we're pretty much on the same page with that. Cool. Okay, so this is the next page. So the title of it is Now a Look at Some of Your Personal Social Values. Okay, so this will be interesting. So the last page was about the economy. This is more about personal social values. So
hopefully I might know more about these things than the last section of questions.
Yeah. So the first one is abortion. Starting off with a soft subject then. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal.
Oh, you don't need to say it twice, fuck. Obviously, it's a strong disagree for me. To use the word should always be illegal is just like, what are you talking about? There are so many horrific circumstances where, even if the woman's life isn't like physically threatened, there are still major repercussions of what went on. And it's entirely that woman's choice. You can't force someone to have a baby just because you disagree with it. Like, don't get me wrong, I can appreciate that after a certain age, there is kind of like it's not just a blunt bunch of cells, it is what we would call, what we figure to be consciousness. Because here, what we're really saying is, look, we don't want to be murdering unborn children, but at the same time, if it's a bunch of cells and some horrible things have gone down, maybe it's not for the best for this to go through, especially if the woman doesn't want it, because it's entirely her choice, not anyone else's.
Yeah, I do generally side with uh, pro-choice, so letting the woman decide. But I would recommend anyone who wants a really, really good pro-life argument, then check out anything that Ben Shapiro says about abortion. Um, it's really interesting, and it's made me question my views on abortion. And I think I would really like to, on this podcast, actually, anyone who has strong views on abortion, um, I would, and is very pro life. I would really like to chat to them because I think there are a lot of really good points to be made for pro life.
Yeah, I would very. This is like one of those things that I feel like is pretty concrete in my mind. So if someone does have like a good argument, did you say Ben Shapiro?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll definitely give that a listen to.
yeah. I mean, one of the downsides I think of Ben Shapiro and other people who are similar is that it comes from a very religious place, even though a lot of the arguments, well, pretty much all the arguments made are from a secular point of view. It's usually religious people that are making them, and therefore, it I find it difficult to if it's just for religious purposes, it's a lot more difficult to relate to their point of view. But yeah, no, it's I would definitely check that out. It's a good, really good arguments he gives. Um, cool. All right. So we both disagree and strongly disagree with that. I would say disagree just because, yeah, my views aren't as strong.
Well,
Actually,
I think it's worded should always be illegal, which
yeah,
I would strongly disagree with. Is it like, well, hey, this isn't black and white? I would totally agree with that. But to say that it should always be illegal
yeah.
is a little maddening to me.
Fair enough. Yep. All right. Yeah, strongly disagree. Um, cool. Next one. All authority should be questioned.
Strongly agree.
I strongly agree as well.
Yeah, the only way we really see loopholes and our own foolishness is when someone else critiques it
Mm,
and goes, "Well, hold on a second," and then and questions the logic and the validity and the effectiveness of whatever you're thinking about, your strategy, your thoughts, your line of debate. So I think it really is for the population to keep their governments in check by questioning them and holding them accountable.
yeah. The only thing I would add from the other, if anyone disagrees, is that it doesn't even disagree with it. Actually, it's just that a time and a place is important. Like being tactful with when you disagree and how you disagree is important. Like um, when authorities, in a job and whatever, when they give certain orders and they give certain things, then there is a time and a place to challenge it. It shouldn't be you're challenging every step of the way and therefore hindering any progress. Or if you're in the middle of something, um, like doing a task, like everyone's doing a task, and you're constantly questioning the authority of it, then that's just counterproductive. But but yeah, in general, it's just yeah, authority needs to be questioned. Sweet. Okay. I strongly agree. Next one: an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
So, this is like a medium, like just a disagree, I guess. I think because this is essentially saying seeking the path of vengeance is a good way to go, and I think that when you go out to hurt someone else with the wronged you or not, whatever, that's gonna take a toll on you in some form as well.
Mm, yeah, and if hate's just always retaliated, it just goes on and on. That's what gang warfare is, and mafia families, and all that sort of stuff, and what world wars, and it can just get dragged out forever. Yeah, I would say soft. Sorry, just a disagree as well, not a strong disagree. The reason I would say is because I think it's really important to have a level of threat there that you would take a tooth if someone took your tooth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like if it's and if it's in the moment, like you've come home, you're seeing like a friend, a family member be violently assaulted, whatever. And then that is, well, okay, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It's going on right now. I have to act. I have to do something, and it's to put the aggressor down.
Yeah. And even in that situation, it's not necessarily a case of doing to them what they've done to you. You would just be, in an ideal world anyway, you don't know what you'd do in that situation, but in an ideal world you would just like temporarily disable the aggressor and let the police deal with them, as opposed to like killing them. But yeah,
Man, dependent on the scenario, that becomes a very theoretical
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Cool. Okay. So yeah, we both disagree with that one, didn't we?
Yeah.
Cool. Next one is taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theatres or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theatres or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis.
Ooh, I guess this is a soft disagree for me, because I think there are lots of pieces of history that are very, in my eyes, that are very incredible, but I can see why they maybe don't reach like a mass market, and these museums are normally in quite central locations that are quite expensive. But I would still like an outlet for that, like pieces of history to be on display.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to history, when it's like art, unless it's like historical, or old, or just like classically impressive, yeah, but I suppose that's a pretty blurry line. You're describing what's historical. Everything is historical. Yeah, I'm a soft disagree for this. Again, it's not one of the all the time. Everything should be propped up by taxpayer money, but like pieces of history, like man, the Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone, if you've ever seen it in person, it's so impressive. I don't know if that's got like the appeal to, well, like be held up by consumers with everything else, with
What is it?
mobile phones, with advertisements. You don't know what the Rosetta Stone is?
No.
Did you not have any form of education?
No.
Oh, you grew up in Watford, right? Yeah, it all
Yeah.
makes sense now. So the Rosetta Stone is how they deciphered or how they started off deciphering ancient hieroglyphics. So I think it's been a long time since I saw it or looked at a picture of it, but I think it's got the same thing written in like maybe Latin, Greek, and the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs as well. I've almost definitely fucked up a lot of that, but it's just like a big ass stone with words carved into it that are like translations.
Okay, so it is a real thing. It's not like the Philosopher's Stone. Like you're not
Oh no,
making
yeah,
this up.
it's a literal it's a literal thing. Yeah, it's not. Ah, well, in the Book of Lord of the Rings.
Well, you seem to not have a clue what you were talking about. So it was a fair question.
Yeah, I've definitely fucked the explanation up. But it's just the stone.
There's a woman called Rosetta who found a stone.
Okay, look, I remember seeing it when I was very young and just going, "Fuck, that's impressive."
But you grew up in Coventry, right? So anything was impressive.
I mean, yeah, when we got fire for the first time, that was pretty impressive as well.
Cool. Well, I would say agree with this actually. Now, I think theatres are amazing. I also think some museums are amazing. I am very, very love-hate with museums. Like, there's been a lot of museums where I've just been bored stiff, and I just have not seen any point.
What did those museums have in them?
You know, when it's like, this china plate with a slight crack in it was designed by Javier, whatever, in 1760. I don't care. I don't
Like, it's
care.
pottery. We have machines that make that shit now.
It's just, there's so many museums with just stuff, just stuff in glass boxes, and it's just, I like interactive museums. I like, so the Science Museum in London is awesome. Like, go up to, I think it's like the 3rd or 4th floor, might be the top floor, and there's just stuff you play with. It's like basically the kids section, but it's so much fun. You like learn all about science through interaction. And so some museums I have been in and they're wicked, but some are just so boring. And I think, I with what I've learned over the years, I used to be super left wing, but I think one of the things I've realised along my journey is, if you're going to put money into something, it means taking money out of something else. So, like, Labour in the last election say, we're going to give free broadband to everyone and free this, free that, and it's like, yeah, it all sounds good, but if you actually pitch that or say it for what it is, which is, we're taking this money that could be used in the NHS or to fund more teachers or whatever, or put more police on the street, then it sounds obviously a lot less appealing. And I think it's more of a left-wing thing to go, oh, state should pay for that, we've got to prop that up, we've got to prop that up. But I think we've really got to prioritise what we spend money on. And I think I love theatre. I'm a filmmaker. I really believe in the arts. But if I'm not making good films, I'm not going to make money. And that's the way it should be. I don't think anyone should prop me up just for the fact of making films. So I think theatres, it's an agree. It's like a soft agree, because I think I could easily be, by someone who knows better about funding to theatres and museums, I could easily be argued that maybe a small amount of funding, or like starter funding, like to get a theatre up and going, in like poorer neighbourhoods and stuff like that, to actually get it up and going, and sort of like business grants and things like that. So I would be open to all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think in general, once it's had that starter and it's got a bit of a momentum, I think it needs to be a beneficial to the population. And I think if a museum isn't really amusing you and you're not enjoying it, and if theatre's just putting on show after show that's just rubbish and doesn't affect anyone, then I don't think we should keep propping it up. I think there needs to be a strong level of competition. Well, not just competition, but just innovation, I guess.
This is an interesting one because you're going agree, I'm going disagree, but I think our actual opinions are so damn close to each other. Yeah, it's interesting because I totally see what you're saying. Like, I work in the games industry. I'm a big fan of competition, and I believe competition in many things, not in all things, but in many things, it really does get the best results.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I say, I would be easily swayed by someone who knew just a little. I know very little about funding.
Someone could turn me to agree pretty easily, I'd have thought.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, we've both given two different sides of the argument anyway, which is good. Cool. The next one is, schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory.
I guess I'm like an agree here. And the problem is, I look back at my fucking school years, and all I think is like, what a fucking waste of time. I learned so goddamn little.
And your teachers look at you now and go, what a waste of our time.
Well, I think I've said this before, but I look back on a lot of my teachers and go, wait, they were dipshits. I should not have listened to them. I got a lot of bad advice from them. Yeah, and I don't think schools teach people the right way either. I mean, yeah, is it a strong agree for me? Yeah, fuck it. Because of personal reasons, it's a strong agree. Like, since I left school, I just feel like in my day I get so much more done because I'm the one in control of it. I'm the one responsible for it, and because of that, I aim to do more. Whereas at school, I'd be like, oh well, I might as well just do the same, do whatever these guys are telling me to, because they're telling me, and they apparently know more than me. Which, as I get older and older, I realize I was actually taught a lot of shit in school that turned out to be bullshit.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry you've had this school experience.
Yup, it's a strong agree for me. Anyway, I don't think personally. Well, like we live in the UK, I don't personally think we have a particularly good education system. And I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again. That is not down to the teachers by any means. It's to the system that underpins it all.
Okay, yeah. Apart from the teachers that you said were dipshits.
Oh no, there were totally a lot of, and it's funny because I've said this on this podcast before, but I'll say it again. Now I'm an adult. I'm 27. A lot of the people I went to school with, some of them have now become teachers, and those people were generally the people at school I thought were dipshits. So
I feel like we should create our own quiz where, instead of agree, disagree, and all that, we just get a celebrity and you just rate dipshit or not dipshit. Okay, yeah, fair enough. It's a strong view, and I respect it. Um, I'm confused about this one. I'm not sure. I'm really unsure because uh, I think my experience with teachers has been brilliant. Mainly, I believe in schools. I believe in teachers, and I believe on the whole they do amazing work, and on the whole they are very necessary to help give kids discipline, structure, and sometimes another, and obviously friends. For some, they really connect with their teachers, and it's a place to go if their home life isn't very good. So I think schools are extremely important, um, and yeah, so making it compulsory, even though school is dreaded by most kids, um, I think it's generally a good thing that it's compulsory to force them to go there, and then they end up getting the all the benefits that can come from school. But the other side of me is saying, like, I think there's so much arcane about schools, and I think there's a lot of teachers I know who would agree in terms of like testing systems, and exams, which aren't basically a testing knowledge; it's basically a test of memory. Um, if you want to be good, if you want to get really high marks in a subject, if you've got like photographic memory, then you can study like the week before, and you'll pass the test. It's not. So I think there's a
it
lot.
doesn't teach you to think; it teaches you to remember things.
Exactly, yeah. So I think there's a lot, and I know there's teachers. Well, anyone in any industry can point out the flaws. So I know there's a lot that's wrong with our system, and I think there's a lot outdated. Um, so I think that side of it, I think that youth clubs are actually sometimes a lot more beneficial to students than schools are. So I can see a very strong argument for some students. It shouldn't be compulsory to go to school because, like, some students really start out really bad in life, and they really struggle at school. They've got behavioural issues, and they've got just sort of just psychological issues that need to be addressed. But school is not a good place to have the time to do that, and they end up getting kicked out of classes, getting detentions. Then they get put in like a special group where it's all the kids who can't focus in class. And then it can lead to being expelled, and then they have to go to another school. And it's just there are kids like this. There's a lot of kids like this. It is the minority, but these kids get displaced, and clubs like youth group, especially for like young boys, like clubs like boxing, and yeah, like boxing is a great example because it gives them a
Well,
really
any
good
martial arts in general.
yeah, martial arts in general, yeah. Because young boys are, young men are the violent ones. Like that is massively more violence is committed by young men than any other demographic. And but this is giving them the structure of school, the discipline of school. It's giving them role models. Usually there's the people who are teaching the martial arts are pretty cool, or they seem cool to the kids, and they can be fantastic role models that teachers just don't have the time, unfortunately, to be. So I can see from that point of view how, yeah, schools being compulsory for everyone actually might take them away from things that might be more beneficial. So
what are you voting on here? What's your?
I think the more liberal part of me, the more sort of seeing how outdated schools are. No, not schools in general, but yeah, how elements are really outdated and they're just not budging. I would say agree. Yeah. Because it would be interesting to see education and formal sort of upbringing take different forms for different kids. Because obviously most kids get a lot out of school and it's been a massive benefit to them, more than if they didn't have it. But there's some kids who I really don't think school will ever work for them, and they need something else. And I think if you kind of force kids into something that's just not suited to them, it's not going to end well.
So we're a strong agree and an agree on this one.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a bit of a monologue there.
No, it was beautiful.
Cool. Okay. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. Okay, so all people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind.
Okay, so before I give my answer, I'm going to try to play devil's advocate here.
Okay, yeah.
And the only... when it says, but different sorts of people, like... No, what I was about to say doesn't make sense. I was about to say, I think pedophiles should stick to their own kind. And then I wait, that's a pedophile ring. That's what a pedophile ring is. So, yeah, whatever attempt at playing devil's advocate I had here did not work. Actually, okay, I think I do. I think when the whole Syria immigrant crisis came down, I could be remembering this wrong, and I'm sorry if I do get it incorrect, but Sweden actually took in a lot of the Syrian migrants. It then later turned out that Malmo, which is a city in southern Sweden, became the capital of Europe for highest figures of rape.
Right.
This was a long time ago, so I would Google this. Don't just take my word as legit here.
Never do.
Good. That's very wise. Question all authority, Dan. But so I do think if people have drastically different values to your nation, that's at least a question. And if I extrapolate this and things like if I say Saudi Arabia, for example, Saudi Arabia's got a lot of shit that I just class as archaic, medieval, and quite frankly unacceptable. How kept down women are persistently, how anti-gay they are. To me, it's just madness. It really is. I mean, they're also ruled by a king or some shit, which, we have a queen, but it's more of a joke than anything else.
Yeah. She's more of a tourist attraction than anything else.
Yeah. So for this question, I think it's a strong disagree, but I can see where if other nations generally have greatly different values to our own.
Yeah,
that's a question at the very least.
I definitely get what you're saying. I am a strong disagree as well. But yeah, I was going to mention that in some cases, I think the way I would put it is that diversity is definitely desirable in markets, in when you're growing vegetables or having a garden, like you're a farmer, in social groups, in your own business, having difference of opinion. I think diversity and having a multiculture as opposed to a monoculture, it seems to, well, any area that I can think of, it seems to make things thrive. But I would say I think people underestimate how hard it is, or underestimate how easy it is. They underestimate. It's harder than it.
Wait, do they overestimate or underestimate this?
They underestimate how hard it is. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So they think it's easier than it is. And I think so I grew up in a very multicultural culture. My primary school, well, less so my primary school, but definitely my secondary school, and like my parents' friends and stuff. There was a mix of all different cultures, especially my secondary school. Like I had a best friend who had Indonesian heritage. I know I'm doing the typical thing now of white people go, oh, I've got a black friend. But yeah, there was so many different, like if I took all my friends, like my close friends, there was such a variety of different backgrounds and ethnicities, and I was too young to really appreciate it. It was just normal to me. But I'm so lucky in that sense because I just grew up with it being normal, and therefore it's nearly impossible to be racist, because when you've got friends from all different backgrounds, it's so yeah. But I do get that if a country is very monocultural, which actually a lot of the Scandinavian countries are, more so than like America and England, that it's the transition phase can be really difficult. And if you have, even in parts of England, which are predominantly white, sort of like more countryside, bringing a family, whether it's like of a completely different religious background or they're from a completely different country with completely different values, even that village in it can really struggle to adapt. So yeah, I definitely agree that it's the goal, but I think it's a lot more difficult than people give it credit for.
Well put. And I think you mentioned religion there. For me, it's actually like it's a layer deeper. It's just core values, and that's what it comes into. Which is why, and I know this will be controversial, but which is why this argument of but that's my religion. I go right, but you're just saying that while I'm doing this because it's written in a storybook. Generally, then but what's your actual logic and fundamental thinking of why you do this and why it is good?
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So we strongly disagree with that one. Okay, next. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children.
I would strongly disagree with this. I'm never going to condone hitting a child. I hope to have kids of my own someday, be them either adopted or whatever. But I can't ever imagine a scenario where I hit them, ever.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I don't know if you want to reveal this, but were you spanked as a child?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. No.
I definitely. Well, I was very irregularly.
You're a twat, so I can totally see why.
But I know it wasn't. It was not more normal for our parents' generation than it would be for ours.
Yeah, I just don't think I just don't think people learn good messages through violence, because then what you're teaching them is, hey, if people are doing the wrong thing, you can hit them and they'll listen.
Yeah.
And that's not the message I want to teach. If I have children, that's the message I want to teach them. I want to teach, hey, look, I want to explain to them why they're doing something that's maybe not desirable or not acceptable in my eyes, and why it's a bad thing to do, and why it's not okay. So then they really understand the message, not just the basic, how schools teach, don't do this, do this.
Yeah. 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 I pretty much agree with you. We're agreeing a
Next
lot.
question.
Yeah.
Well, and even the things where we've ticked different boxes, it's very millimeters apart.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Next question. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents.
I mean, I kept tons of secrets from my parents.
Yeah. That's that. That seems. That's the most one I'm
Strongly
sure about.
agree.
Strongly agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kept loads of secrets from my parents. I wasn't hurting anyone, doing anything wrong. I guess I liked having, freedom over myself for once, because when you're young, everyone's telling you what to do, where to go to school at these times, study this, here's your homework, for a topic you probably don't give a shit about.
Because your teacher's dipshit.
Because your teacher's teaching you fucking geography, and it's like, yo, or they're man, when I was growing up, they tried to teach me French, and it was about the same time that Google Translate came out, and I was just like, well, why would I do this when the PC does this?
Okay. Yeah. And to be honest, it could just be changed to it's natural for people to keep secrets from other people. Like,
Yeah, man.
it's just a part of growing up, and yeah. Um, and children at a certain age, I think there's a specific age when they learn to lie, when they learn to like realize, they're like, did you do? The parents like, did you do this? And the kid realizes, I could just say I didn't do it, and then the parent will be happy. And once they do that once, they try a lie out, and the parent's like, oh, okay, sorry, I thought it was you, and then they give them a big hug or whatever. Then they're like, lying's pretty good. So yeah, it's natural, isn't it? Cool. Next question.
Would you like to read the next question?
I wonder what you're going to say for this one. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offence. What do you think?
Okay, I'm going to just go high level on this one. It's a strong agree, and for a bunch of reasons. A, I don't think it is up to the government to dictate what people can and cannot put in their bodies. B, this war on drugs has cost so much, and essentially every government has lost because it has these huge impacts to society where drugs become more prominent. If history's shown us anything, it's that prohibition has a 100% failure rate. And actually offering support and decriminalizing drugs as they did in Portugal led to massive benefits for the whole country, where they saw so much addiction go down, crime go down. There's also the idea that right now it's a black market, so you would not believe how prominent and how a lot of people actually do smoke cannabis, and yet the sales and the money and trade from that doesn't go into the government. It doesn't get taxed because it's illegal. There's then the problem of, well, hey, if this stuff's illegal, we're not testing. We're not like none of it's governed, none of it's checked, you don't know if it's legit, and also no medical research can really be done to see its positive benefits. And I'm not here to say that cannabis cures cancer. I don't think it does. But I think if you look at things like epilepsy, I think there's a decent amount of evidence to suggest that, hey, this might be the best medication we can give for epilepsy now.
I know there was
in some cases.
I was aware of a case. I think with MS, I think it has some beneficial. I remember reading about a case last year of a Canadian woman coming in with her child, and her child had MS. And in Canada, it was you could have medicinal marijuana. I guess it was in pill form, or I don't know. But she brought it to England because she was, I don't know, visiting someone or whatever, and she wasn't able to bring it to the country, and her child got really, really ill because I don't know, I have to look it up, but the medicinal marijuana really helped with the symptoms, I think, of MS, multiple sclerosis. So I just remember that reading about that. I don't know. I think it sort of helps with that as well, maybe. But yeah, just throwing my 2 cents. I just remembered it. Cool. Okay, so you strongly agree.
And I am going to throw it out there. I'm a fucking pothead, so I've gotten baked a lot and like done a shitload of research into like cannabis, drugs, drug effects on impacts on society. If anyone, like I am pretty damn sure on my argument here. If anyone like thinks they've got a pretty good argument for against why it shouldn't be a criminal offense, and it shouldn't be made fully legal, I would love to talk to you about that.
Cool. Sweet. All right. Well, yeah, I think, because it's marijuana, I think other drugs I would be a bit more on the fence, but marijuana, I strongly agree as well. Cool. Next question. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. The prime function, so it's not saying the only function, but it's saying the prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs.
I disagree, and I disagree because, I mean, that's kind of what our schooling is now, and the kind of jobs it's setting you up for, it's very possible they're going to be redundant. So very soon with AI, self-driving trucks, things like that. I think school should also teach you how to be a good person, good decision making, how to learn well, how to figure out what it is you want to do in this world. Because fuck, that's a difficult question.
So do you think that it is a function of school?
To prepare them to find jobs. Oh no, I think schooling is about education, so it's about teaching people, not about finding jobs.
I would say it is a function. I would say because people need to earn money, and being able to get a job is an extremely, or create your own job, I guess, through business, creating your own business or whatever. But having a job is a fundamental, important thing in nearly everyone's life, apart from the people that are born into a massive fortune and don't work. But
even they've got to find something to do.
Yeah, but they don't have to. Like, they could survive for the rest of their life without a job if they just wanted to eat through the millions or whatever. But yeah, anyway, the point is everyone needs a job. So I would say it is a function of school. We can't ignore that. I don't think schools do ignore that. I don't think they should ignore that these kids need to be prepared to have a job. So, but the prime function, what do you think the prime function of schooling should be?
For me, the prime function of school is education, and it's about teaching people, but not just teaching people facts from the past or equations. It's more than that. It's teaching people how to make rational decisions, teaching people how to say beneficial things they can have on their life, teaching people core values, teaching people, hey, ethics is important in all of your decision making. I get that we've confused society until like we only have one resource, which is currency, which is madness to me, but this is not the case.
Right, okay. So just a broad answer would be sort of education, and that includes the actual stuff that you learn in school and your lessons, but it also includes sort of stuff that's more difficult to quantify, like critical thinking.
Yeah, if anything, I think schools should really schools should help people figure out what they want to do.
As in,
like what their passion is, where their fire in their belly is to really get up and do something that morning. That for me, that's what schools are about.
Is that not
should be
related
about.
to jobs though?
Yeah, I guess it is jobs. Yeah, I can see that. It's just the problem is in our society when we do talk about jobs, they're normally shit jobs that these things are gearing you towards, like accountancy and being a lawyer. I'm not apologizing to accountancy lawyers. I think your trades are boring as fuck.
Okay.
Yeah, because man, and this is a problem for me because I was always told, "Oh, get a real job, stop spending all your time playing video games," and now I'm a video game producer. So it's like, well, those people clearly didn't have a fucking clue, and these were my teachers at school.
Jeez, maybe we should have a podcast just of your, or more like a therapy session of your experiences at school.
Oh man, I would have so many stories of like, and this dipshit said this.
Don't ever do children's stories. The three little dipshits. So what do I think the prime function of schooling is? I disagree with this. I don't think the prime function is to find jobs or to thrive in jobs. I think it's training the mind to be as strong as possible, I guess. And I guess that is pretty much education. Yeah, there was one thing that I thought was a really good argument against my argument. So a few years ago, I was chatting to a friend, and I said like, I don't know why maths and English and some of these are compulsory all the way through school. I feel like people, we get to choose some of the subjects, but some subjects are compulsory. And I feel like maths, when you get into like algebra and pi and all this sort of stuff, I was just like, you can't, it's a cliche.
How applicable is it anymore?
Yeah, but he gave an answer that really stuck with me, and I really have related it to my own life more and more as the years have gone on. Maths is not just there to teach you maths. It trains your mind to be logical, rational. You have given a problem and you have to figure out the answer to that problem. And if you reflect on what your mind does when you're doing a maths problem, it's training. It's training it to find out the answer to problems. It's being rational. It's there's no grey areas with maths. It is 1 plus. Well, I'm sure proper mathematicians say there's a lot of grey areas, but yeah, 1 plus 1 equals 2. There's no argument about it, and it's. So I thought that was really compelling, and then you can relate it to other compulsory subjects like English. We need to have a good grasp of the English language to speak as we are on this podcast, or to give a good interview, or to write, or whatever. So I thought that was a really compelling argument for maths in particular, that it trains your mind. It's not just about what you're learning in maths. So yeah, I think it's this training of your mind and what you learn as well. Probably the prime function. So yeah. So are we both disagree with this then, or strongly
Yeah,
disagree?
I'm gonna disagree for this. It's I can see where you're coming from. It's somewhat everything will lead to you finding a job. Finding yourself doing something that will bring in money for you, and everything will filter into that. So it can be a function, but definitely not the prime function.
Cool. Yeah. Sweet. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce.
Oh. So I disagree with this, and here's why. So my girlfriend actually has she's got a gene or something, and if someone else with the same gene has it, there's a good chance their kids will be born with a lot of issues. And because of that reason, she doesn't want to have biological kids, which makes sense. And I think it's fair for her to do that because it's her DNA, it's her as a human being, it's her choice. It isn't for someone else to say you're not allowed to have babies. That's madness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like no human should be allowed to dictate what other humans can or can't do when they're not hurting anyone.
Yeah. There's just so much wrong with it. And like, it's
Yeah.
not even determined for sure that a child's gonna definitely have the same genes and have the same disabilities. And yeah, I strongly disagree with this one.
Yeah, likewise.
Cool, that was easy. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. So again, this is like the prime function one. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline.
So I believe discipline is important. And having some form of routine. When you say you're going to do something, you do it, and when you make plans and when you action them, I think discipline is very important to your own growth and your own mindset. I do not believe it is the most important thing for children to learn, though. Like, when you're a kid, you're learning so many things. You're learning how to socialize with other people. You're learning how the world works. Like, I don't think of myself as a child. I was a fucking idiot as a child. I'm still a dipshit now. But I'm not as much as a dipshit as I was 20 years ago.
It's your favourite, isn't it, that word?
Well, dipshit.
Yeah.
It is. It's a. I don't know why, but it's a very enjoyable word to say.
Carry on.
Yeah, I think discipline is important, but I don't know if that necessarily comes always at childhood or comes later. I definitely think teaching children good core values, good ethics, about the cost of actions and consequences of actions, and so many more things. I think discipline's important, but definitely nowhere near the most important thing for children.
Yeah, I'm really on the fence with this one, to be honest.
It's a disagree for me, just to clarify.
Cool. Yeah. So a few years ago, I would have definitely disagreed. I probably maybe even would have strongly disagreed. But I have seen over the years, mainly for the youth work I did a couple of years ago, how important discipline is with children. But yeah, no, I would say it's not the most important thing for them to learn. Yeah, so I would. Let me have a look at it. Most important. Yeah, so I would disagree as well. I think feeling they have value is maybe more important in whatever form that takes. So just knowing they have value in the world. And like you said, I mentioned socializing. Discipline is very different sort of mindset to socializing. So yeah, cool. Next question. There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures.
So I would. I'm gonna go strongly disagree with this one.
Okay.
The reason being, and I mentioned this earlier with Saudi Arabia, I do class Saudi Arabia as a pretty fucking savage country. I believe that they're maybe 100 years behind us. Maybe not quite 100 years, maybe more like 50 or so. But they are so far behind us. And we always talk about the gender pay gap here. Like you're not even. I don't even know if you're allowed to get a job as a woman in Saudi Arabia unless your husband or whatever, or father or whatever, like approves it. It's just like this isn't the same scale. In the West, we're talking about millimeters compared to miles of difference in the Middle East. There's also, and I don't know how true this is, but there's a tribe in Papua New Guinea where part of the process for boys becoming men is that they get sodomized by all the men, which I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
So that to me is like, yeah, it's pretty fucking savage. You're raping children.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go strongly disagree. What about yourself, Daniel?
Yeah, no, I strongly disagree. I would say I think the terminology I would use differently. I know it seems like a silly point, but I think savage is um I think I can see.
Ambiguous, subjective.
Yeah, you need labels. You unfortunately in life you need labels, and we all well we it's good to accept that labels are just labels. They're not exactly inherent in those things, but we need to see a difference between tribes in whatever country and the practices they use. Some of them amazing, some of them you would look at and think that's beautiful in its own way. Like the fact they hunt their own food, or I don't know, singing and dancing sort of traditions, whatever. So there's beautiful parts of it as well, but we need to see the downsides of theirs and compare it, and just there is a clear difference. So yeah, I strongly disagree with that one as well. But I can see people's point of view in that the people themselves in any culture don't obviously see themselves as savage, and I think it's really important to not throw away or disregard the cultures of these more tribal people. I think it's really important we know about them. It's where we've come from, um, and so I think the people themselves aren't necessarily bad people within their own tribes. The ones that are sodomizing the children, that they might be doing absolutely the most moral thing within their tribe. So it is a difficult one. Like, is something moral if it's in the tribe, but then if it's not moral by us? Like, what would you say to that? So, like, um, we're here, grew up in England, where okay, well let's use infanticide. So that's a used to be a very common thing. So killing babies when they're born. And let's say it's a ritual in some tribes, maybe because the population's too big. If that's the moral thing within that tribe, but we say that's immoral, who's right?
Dun dun dun. It's a very good question. I guess it's down to the rationale of why you think it's either acceptable or unacceptable.
Hmm.
And I guess it really comes down to how much you value human life. He's saying like, oh well, we've already got too many people here. Let's just start killing the new ones.
Hmm.
That means you don't seem to have a very high value for that human life, as you're kind of like deleting it, like you're just like throwing it in the trash kind of thing.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how you treat your recyclables, I guess. Except at least you sort your recyclables into the right bin.
Talking about tribal people, and you're talking about recyclables.
Yeah, as I was saying, I was like, oh, this is what I'm saying now.
Yeah. Do you have any views on that? I'm a bit stumped actually, in terms of that. I don't know. I don't know what's more. I guess we've advanced in so many ways. I guess I'll put it this way. So our morals are more advanced than theirs. We've gone through
Well, we perceive them as more advanced.
no, but it's progressed more. Like
Yeah,
in time,
I
and
guess it's moved forward.
and it's taken a bigger battering. It's taken this centuries and centuries of questioning authority. With civil rights, with gay rights, with animal rights, with workers' rights, all these sort of things. They've come into place over many, many years, and there's been a huge progress in every area of life. And I would put moral progress in there because we've come a further way. It's like saying, yeah. So maybe that's how I describe it. If you compare morals to technology. So which is better technology? The 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 axe that's created by this tribe, or Elon Musk's new Tesla car? Which is the better technology? Like,
Well, it depends. In terms of better technology, it depends what you want to do. If you want to cut down a tree, then the axe.
yeah, but Elon Musk. The difference is, what I mean is, Elon Musk could make that axe easily, or the engineers, let's say, could do that axe extremely easily. Like, it is.
So I suppose the argument is that those people are now capable of more.
We have more capability in terms of moral judgment.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think the
Okay.
fact that we have that capability in moral judgment, we're going to produce better stuff. We're going to produce more advanced stuff. We're going to produce, and by stuff I mean, like, like human rights, or like laws that protect vulnerable people. Tribes that have such a primitive thing of, like, when when the sun is this high in the sky, then we should do this to the women of the tribe, or whatever. I'm just coming up with something, but it's so primitive in its conception. It's not the advance of thought that we've got now. So I guess that's maybe an argument that we're morally more advanced.
I can see that. I wasn't really with you at the start, but by the time you'd finished, yeah, I can see that now.
Cool. Sweet. That's actually been an hour.
Oh damn! Time flies.
Yeah. Cool. So we got to question 34.
How many questions are there total?
63. We've just
So we're a little over halfway, and that's taken us 3 recordings.
Yeah. But you know what? we're gonna soldier on, and love it or loathe it. If there's one person apart from us two that enjoy these, then that will be a result.
Yes, it's all. Even if there's 0 people, it's still worth it for me.
But then it's just two dipshits just talking about a load of nonsense.
And still, all the majority of the world is.
Cool. All right, I'll put down these bits of paper. Cool. I'll just say to anyone who's still listening out there, please feel free to comment. We talk about quite hot topics in these episodes I'm having with Nick. So I really, really would love, if anyone's got a strong opinion, especially against what we're saying, I would love to get you on the podcast and to chat about it, because a whole part of this is to debate and to refine our ideas. And if either of us sound completely ignorant, which is very, very likely on most subjects, then please educate us and please put us in our place. So comment or contact me. Another thing I'll say is if you have enjoyed this one or any other episodes, please share it. It doesn't have to be a public share on social media, but it just, someone at your work or a friend or family, you think, oh, they actually might quite like this episode. Just share it around. It'd be quite nice for more people to be listening to it. And yeah, I'm always looking for guests and always wanting guests to come on, whoever you are, whatever your beliefs are. So yeah, finally, I'll just say thank you, Nick, again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. This is always enjoyable.
Yeah, and I'll see you next time.